Hello guys, and welcome back to the Our Minds channel and another sit down video. Reflection is basically, if you don't know the term, not to sound patronizing or anything like that, but reflection is basically looking back on things. It could be your life, it can be a situation, it can be looking back in history. You're just reflecting on something. And reflection for me is something that I have been continuously doing for the past, I'll say about maybe 2 years, not that long, but long enough, or maybe even 3 years. And reflection for me is something that is so good when you are trying to see how far you've come, how far you've grown, whether you have grown at all from where you were a certain period of time ago. I'm a huge fan of looking back, but not looking back as in, let's say you've gone through something really, really challenging and you're looking back at that time and you're just, self-pitying yourself. And you're like, oh my God, this person did that to me and I went through that and it was really challenging and it was really hard and blah, 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 blah. I'm not talking about that. I'm basically talking about thinking about a time in your life when, you were going through something very, very challenging. You unfortunately had to go through the whole grieving process of a death, or you went through a depressive episode. It's really important and it's really beneficial every so often to reflect on that time to see how far that you have come. And this is why I'm like a huge, big fan of journaling, because obviously with life and everything and what we go through in life, good, bad, challenging, indifferent, and all the bits in between, the human mind can forget certain things. And I know for me, I'm sure that there are certain things that I've been through in my life that have been so challenging and so painful that, yes, I've forgotten. Because sometimes if you want to block out a pain and just not remember it anymore, we kind of do this thing where we block it out. But if you write it down, and this is where journaling comes in, when you write it down, you can't forget that thing, especially when you go back to it and you reflect on it. You see, reflection and looking back on things shouldn't always be a negative thing, because only when you look back on something do you then realize how far you have come. And it's great when, you look back on something and you're like, oh my gosh, I remember I was crying constantly about this situation. This is not me personally, I'm just giving an example. I remember when I was crying constantly about that particular situation. And I remember I was in that job and it was horrible and it was difficult. And I remember when, you remember things that have been difficult for you. And you look back and you're like, wow, I'm not crying anymore. I'm not in that job position that I used to be in. And if I am in that job position, I'm now able to handle it, or I've moved out of that department and I'm now working in a completely different department. And you see how far you've come, and it's encouragement for you, because then you then say to yourself, you know what, if I was able to overcome that, then I sure as hell know that whatever may come my way, I know it might not happen straight away, but I know I will be able to overcome that. Now let's keep it real. Let's be honest here. There might be some of you who you're looking back on your life or a certain challenging situation and you're like, you know what? Not much has really changed with me. And that's real talk. This is being completely honest. And there are some people like that. And I'll hold my hands up. There are certain aspects of my life now that I'm thinking, wow, 3, 5, 10 years ago, I'm kind of sort of still doing the same thing. That as well, ladies and gentlemen and boys and girls at the front, that is also something to be proud of. Not proud that you haven't done or changed or developed from what you found challenging before, but it's good because now you have realized your pattern. You have realized that how you used to be, you kind of still are. And you've realized that it's not benefiting you in any way. So now it's like, okay, this was then, this is me now, and I'm still the same and I haven't progressed. now I have to do something about it. It's almost like that push, that push to make you now change what it is that you know you need to change in order to better yourself. Listen, reflections are one of the most, for me anyway, like I have to put this disclaimer on here, I'm not a doctor, life coach, therapist or anything like that, but I have my experiences that I've been through, and I'm not going to gatekeep, you know, I'm going to share with you guys things that have actually helped me. Reflections, and also I don't have a PhD in any of those areas. Sometimes you just have to put a disclaimer on there because people are going to be like, well, how would you know? I've had my issues, I've had my problems, but anyway, I digress. Reflections is not a bad thing, and don't allow other people to say, oh, stop looking back, stop looking back. Yes, don't look back, but look back for the right reasons. Like I said at the start of the video, don't just be looking back and remembering and reflecting on what didn't work out for you, what didn't go wrong, what didn't go right for you. You know, okay, this and this didn't work for you then, but you're not Marty McFly. You can't go back to the future, all right? What's working for you now? And if something isn't working for you now, what can you do to help yourself so that it does work for you now? And that's why reflections, and as well as journaling. And I think as well, I think one of my first videos, it was a video about, is journaling worth it? And I say that it is. And you don't need to buy the most glossiest, the most amazing journal. This is the one that I still use. This one, somebody gave it to me. I think it was my sister that gave it to me. I use that. That's what I use. And I'll be honest, not every day. I don't journal every day. I really don't journal every day because, let's be real, life gets life gets in the way. You know, you might come home really, really late from work. You're tired. If you do have kids, you're like with the kids and doing what you need to do with the kids. Life happens. But always take a moment to reflect on what's happened to you before, where you are now. You know what? One thing, yeah, that I really did like when I used to watch the Kardashians. I don't watch Kardashians anymore. Nothing against them, I just don't watch reality TV anymore. I remember an episode, not sure if they still do it now, but I remember an episode where they were at dinner and they said something that their dad or grandma or somebody used to do with them was they would ask them what's the peak of their day and what's the pit of their day. That is a form of reflection. You don't have to wait 10 years before you reflect, 5 years before you reflect. You can reflect at the end of your day. You can reflect the day after. You can reflect, I don't know, at the end of the week. Like, oh, how did my week go? But just know that reflection and looking back on things, providing that you're not dwelling on them, is actually a really good and positive thing to do for yourself, for your mental health, and it also helps you in your growth. Because if you're looking back and you see that how you used to be, you haven't developed, this is actually your sign to now improve and to develop yourself and to be a better person. And it's always good to be a better person. So as always, guys, I hope that you got something encouraging and positive from this video, and I will most definitely see you in the next one. Bye bye.